In this edition of Southern Newsweek, one of Dunedin's water treatment plants finally has crystal clear water after more than 20 years of work. The timber being used in an Otago Polytechnic construction has the building industry talking. We'll find out why. And we chat with a retailer who's in support of a return to cycling on the footpath. Kia ora, I'm Holly Buchanan. In 1995, Dunedin City's water supply was regularly discoloured, didn't smell flash and had an EE rating. 21 years and $100 million later, it's now crystal clear and has an AB rating. Members of the council's water treatment team gave the South Today a guided tour of the Mount Grande treatment plant.
From the hinterland to the city. The Dunedin City Council has spent $100 million and 21 years upgrading the city's water catchment, processing and distribution. Back in 1995, city water had an EE rating and was widely regarded as undrinkable. It's a different story now, and the DCC's water operations manager is very proud of the team.
The greatest achievement is finally getting all the plants upgraded to be able to produce A-class water, completely meeting drinking water standards and being able to produce high quality, well treated water for the people of Dunedin.
Jared McCombie began working at Mount Grande in 1976 and remembers the days before all these processes were in place to provide drinkable water.
Yeah, back in those days the quality of the water was very poor at times and inconsistent. The water was highly coloured as opposed to now, where it's very, very crystal clear once it's gone through the process.
When the water arrives at Mount Grande from Deep Stream and Deep Creek, it begins many layers of filtration, with chemicals being added along the way. DCC Water Treatment Team Leader Derek Crawford outlines some of the processes.
The water passes across here to the DAF process, which stands for dissolved air flotation. Just prior to the water passing into the DAF process, chemicals are added to create flock particles. The flock particles attract colour and turbidity and just give some substance to be extracted from the water. The process involves dissolved air being added to the water, which rises up through the water and lifts the flock particles to the top, which are then scraped off.
He says the multi-level filtration process is one of the recent additions to the plant. The process has taken 21 years as the council has not wanted to disrupt the supply of water to Dunedin residents. Chris Henderson says there is still more work to be done. The plant produces A-grade water, but it's down to a B grade when it comes out of the tap in some areas, due to the age of some pipes. Henderson says their aim is for AA rated water for all of Dunedin within 5 to 10 years. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
People opposed to testing on animals have placed more than 11,000 paper hearts on a wall at the University of Otago. The Dunedin campus site is where the university is building a new $50 million animal research lab, and the protest action even attracted opponents from out of town.
Pleading with the university to have a heart. From 4 a.m. this morning, a group of activists from the New Zealand Anti-Vivisection Society attached more than 11,000 hearts onto this wall. It's where the University of Otago's new animal testing facility is to be constructed. By mid-morning, all of the slogans were gone and university staff were busy removing the hearts.
And there was about a dozen of us, and we hung 11,358 hearts on the wall that's standing behind me. Behind that wall is where the new animal lab is going to be built, the new animal lab of the University of Otago. And last year, the University of Otago actually killed 11,358 animals for animal testing, and that's why we had that many hearts. It was to represent the amount of lives that were lost and that will continue to be lost every year if this animal lab is built.
Members of the Anti-Vivisection Society are against testing on animals for ethical reasons. Jackson has a background in zoology and says the science behind vivisection is flawed.
Our main argument is from the scientific perspective. We believe that vivisection is scientific fraud, that animal-based research isn't a reliable, applicable research method when it comes to finding cures for humans.
She says one of the main criteria for people joining the organisation is having strong scientific credentials. Jackson says all living things are significantly different on a genetic level. Therefore, tests on animals aren't useful to humans.
We are really different to animals on so many levels. But the most basic example is you can't feed your dog chocolate. Imagine if they tested chocolate on dogs. I mean, we wouldn't be eating it now, would we?
Some people walking by the wall as it was being taken down were supportive of the action. Others were confused and some were against it. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
A unique construction project has broken soil in Dunedin to benefit those studying in the city. The $20 million building is part of the Otago Polytechnic's new student accommodation village. It's going to be the largest structure of its kind, made from cross-laminate timber in New Zealand, and that has the building industry talking.
The stone foundations are being laid for the Otago Polytechnic's top-class student accommodation. The student village will include single rooms, studios and 4-bedroom apartments. But it's the use of renewable wood from Nelson that has the building industry interested.
It's a unique building, and I think it's the only one of its kind, certainly in Dunedin, that's made of the timber construction that it's using, so this cross-laminate timber.
The 5-storey building is the largest by volume to be built in New Zealand. It will comprise very little steel, making it lighter and more suited to the reclaimed land site. And that's led to a different approach to drilling the foundation holes.
It's stone columns, and it's using aggregate and vibrating it in, as opposed to hitting something really hard with a bit of steel. It's certainly being used a lot in Christchurch, and it's technology that we've brought down specifically for this project.
700 piles will be going into the ground in the coming months.
We hope to do around 30 a day. So we've got 4 or 5 weeks of piling activities to get the ground stabilisation right before we can then start building.
This stage of construction needs only a handful of workers on site. But in the coming weeks, up to 120 workers will be building full time.
The Dunedin market is hugely busy at the moment construction-wise, because the universities released a lot of projects, the hospital's releasing projects, Mercy Hospital's doing projects, so it's a real busy time in the industry.
The project has been in the planning stage for 3 years and is expected to be finished by February 2018, ready for a new intake of students. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
A multi-million-dollar upgrade of the Ross Creek Reservoir in Dunedin is about to begin. The Dunedin City Council is tendering for the construction work, expected to start in January and take 18 months. The project budget is listed on the council's website as $6.7 million. It's expected to save the council millions in future expenses to do with the city's water supply. During the upgrade, popular walking tracks around the reserve will be closed to the public. Signs will be installed warning people of the construction site, which will be fenced off. Cyclists may be returning to a footpath near you. A submission to the Transport and Industrial Relations Committee is proposing a law change to allow cycling on the footpath. For the past 30 years, it's been illegal, and the last decade, 2 people have died in related accidents. But a Dunedin cycle retailer believes it could be a safer option for some.
For the last 30 years, cycling on the footpath has been illegal in New Zealand, but that could be about to change. Hi, I'm Mark Price in Dunedin, and it's streets like these that look eminently suitable for pedestrians to share with cyclists on their way to school or work. Cycle shop owner Steve Dyatt certainly thinks so.
It would be safe in certain areas, but certainly not in the cities, the main street of Dunedin, George Street. You wouldn't want to ride up and down there, but out in the suburbs I'm sure the footpaths are totally underutilised and cycles could go along them. But a little bit of education would have to be put in place so that people backing their cars out of driveways, etc., aren't hit by cyclists, because cyclists do go a little bit faster than the average walker.
At the moment, aside from posties, only cyclists on bikes like these, with wheel diameters of 355mm or less, can ride on footpaths.
That's what we call a general terms of pavement cycle, or 12-inch bike for a children's, their very first bike. It generally wouldn't go much faster than walking pace, and or a lot of the balance bikes we see without the pedal cranks on these days. A lot of kindergartens, etc., have them, and a lot of children have them just as their very first. Instead of a trike, they'll have a balance bike, but they just scoot along on them. Basically, it's still got two wheels like a normal bike, but just doesn't have the pedal cranks, so they go along the footpath okay.
The New Zealand Transport Agency and the Ministry of Transport are waiting for a research project to be completed next month before making up their minds about cycling on footpaths. One of the things they will no doubt be considering is where electric bikes fit into the system.
So I think it has to be regulated in some way, shape or form, and or some education. Certainly there'll be certain areas where you couldn't ride on a footpath, although go to big cities overseas. I've just been to Melbourne along the South Bank, shared walks / cycleways, very heavy use by pedestrians, but also bikes commuting up and down there. So it's, it does happen globally, but I think people are used to it, a little more educated, and it can work in certain situations.
Statistics show there were just over 1,000 cycle crashes on footpaths in the last 10 years, 7 of those serious, and there were 2 fatalities. I'm Mark Price for the South Today.
Coming up on Southern Newsweek, a delightful old church in Arrowtown is about to get a new neighbour, and an Invercargill City Council initiative proves so popular that it's being extended. Welcome back. Arrowtown's St Patrick's Catholic Church is recognised internationally through its association with Australian nun Mary Helen MacKillop, who was made a saint in 1995. Now the picturesque old church is back in the news thanks to plans for a new building on part of the land it occupies. Here's Johnny Appleby.
St Patrick's Church in Hertford Street has been an Arrowtown landmark for 143 years. But what should be built next door to it? Hi, I'm Johnny Appleby, on the site of a building known as the Olive Leaf, proposed by architect Frederikus van Brandenburg. The Olive Leaf is designed to be a multi-purpose church and community building with minimal visual impact. However, the idea is getting a mixed reception in Arrowtown.
It's a beautiful building, but certainly not for Arrowtown. It's an architect making a statement on architecture, probably for his own purposes.
Disgraceful. I think it'd be terrible. It's got nothing to do with the historical sort of atmosphere of this area.
Are you a parish goer yourself?
I am. I go to Mass most Sundays. Yeah. And as I see it, that's probably well over half the local congregation, which is only about 25 people, are against it.
The church has a significant association with Australasia's first saint, Mary MacKillop. St Mary spent time in Arrowtown in the 1890s and was canonised in 2010 in recognition of her devotion to educating the poor. There are already 3 structures on the church grounds. Whether there should be a 4th will be decided through the resource consent process. I'm Johnny Appleby for the South Today.
Auckland thespian Penny Ashton is bringing her one-woman Jane Austen show back to Dunedin after taking it around the world over the last few years. Promise and Promiscuity is a series of scenes inspired by and borrowing words from the well-known English writer. And Ashton's even taken it to Austen's home country in the United Kingdom.
Ashton taking on Austen. New Zealand actor Penny Ashton has been performing the works based on Jane Austen for the better part of a decade and has taken this one-woman show around the world. She last performed it in Dunedin at the 2014 Festival of the Arts, and she's even been audacious enough to take it to the home of the 18th century writer in England.
You know, she's actually buried in Winchester, so I went there. I went to Bath, to the houses. She lived in a house in Gay Street and in Trim Street and various other places in Bath. And it was just amazing to just sort of be there and walk around where she walked and go to the Jane Austen Centre and things. It was fabulous.
Ashton says some recent movies draw heavily from Jane Austen, as many of the themes she explored are current today.
She just has wonderful dialogue, particularly. Really funny, really quite sarcastic and cutting, which I think a lot of people don't sort of realise, but she is quite fabulous. Also, Jane Austen's stories are very universal even today, which is why things like Bridget Jones' Diary works, Clueless, which is based on Emma, etc., that they are all about the universal search for love and security.
During the show, Ashton takes on 9 characters, swapping between them with almost too much ease.
So they may be tolerable to look at, but I expect they will not be handsome enough to tempt me onto the dance floor. Or I've got the mother who's like, happiness in marriage is entirely a matter of chance. And then there's the lead character who's sort of much more like me. And then her sister who's very silly and just sort of throws herself about. And then there's also the very jovial trap and the very, you know, sort of Lady Catherine de Bourgh character who talks like the Queen, basically. I'm just mainlining the Queen. Yes, so that's how I do it, basically.
The fluidity with which she swaps characters comes with experience, as she's performed the work more than 200 times. The first show in the Otago season tomorrow is a fundraiser for Rape Crisis Dunedin. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
A new initiative in the centre of Invercargill is being extended on the back of its early success. The concept was spearheaded by the Invercargill City Council to get more people utilising the CBD. And on the weekend, there was an extra treat in store for children.
Food Truck Fridays are here to stay for another month. Hi, I'm Ruby in Invercargill here at Wachner Place on a Drizzly Friday. But that's not keeping the customers at bay.
The public has, that we've dealt with, have absolutely loved it. Really supportive, even in the rain. Like the last couple of hours, we've had a pretty steady morning.
The Invercargill City Council originally created the initiative to last 5 weeks, but due to popular demand have brought it back.
The feedback from the vendors has been amazing. They say that they're getting lots of repeat customers and new customers. The public have emailed us and called our customer service and said, please continue, don't stop, this is so cool.
It's all done in hopes to bring people out and about during their lunch breaks. Currently the range of food spans burgers, hot dogs, donuts, chop suey, and that's just the beginning.
Well, we're doing trick-or-treating in the CBD and that starts this Saturday. So all of the retailers, the majority, from Don S, Kelvin, Tay, D, and Tay Street, are giving out trick-or-treats to primary school and under. And then after that we will be doing a Christmas market.
As for me, I can't wait to see how this develops and hopefully get some meat-free options. Ruby Spink, The South Today.
After the break on Southern Newsweek, students in the world's southernmost pole dancing class prepare for a showcase, and a young chess player contemplates his future moves after a series of wins. Welcome back. Members of the world's southernmost pole dancing club have been busy preparing for their student showcase in Invercargill. The women have been hard at work for months preparing for the event, and nerves have been running high.
Months of strengthening their core muscles, learning to spin and dance, all leading to tonight's performance. South Pole Pole Dancing Studios holding their student showcase at the Invercargill Repertory House at 7:30. And everyone's in their final stages of preparation.
Well, for me, pointed toes is a really big thing. Being nice and tall and good posture is really good for pole dancing. Also using your flexibility as much as you can, as well as strength.
For many of the performers, this will be the first time they show their talents to the public. Collier says it's a big moment for the women.
The girls are quite nervous, but I think they're also very excited. This is a great opportunity for them to show their friends and their families what they've been doing every week. And yeah, it's a lot of hard work that's going to pay off.
There are multiple classes per week and upwards of 50 women in the club. Collier says this is an activity a range of people can get involved in for self-expression, fitness, and to feel sexy.
We have women all different shapes and sizes. That's what pole dancing is all about. You don't have to be a particular size or shape. Anybody can do it.
She says anyone who's considering getting involved should pop into South Pole Studio on Leet Street and check it out. Ruby Spink, The South Today.
A couple of Queenstown bodybuilders are celebrating their success at the National Championships held recently in Wellington. The event involved more than 140 competitors in over 40 categories. And the Southern duo are now preparing for next year's South Pacific Champs in Sydney.
It's not every day Queenstown bodybuilders Danny King and Darren Schwalger get to swap bicep curls for beers and burgers. Hi, I'm Johnny Appleby in Queenstown with 2 medal winners from the National Bodybuilding Champs in Wellington. Both former rugby players, they weren't always interested in the lights of the competition stage, but since they've started, there's been no looking back. Darren Schwalger, in his first year of competing, won gold in the classic physique class.
Yeah, it felt really good. Like, you know, you put in all the hard work, and yeah, it's nice to be rewarded and you know, recognise that you have put in that hard work to get the win.
And Danny King was second in the men's physique class.
I was hoping for top 3 was my goal, so to get second was pretty good. Pretty happy. It was a lot of hard work and a bit of a mental challenge to get there, but no, I'm pretty stoked so yeah, pretty happy.
In competition mode, the pair must stick to a twice daily training regime of weights and cardio exercise, as well as a strict diet.
Yeah, you definitely miss the beers on prep, miss the burgers and the beers, so but got to sacrifice to get to where you want to be. So
both men will continue to train in a sport proving to be addictive.
To take your physique to the next level, it's really rewarding when you get there, and it's, you know, you can't buy it, you can't inherit it. You sort of have to work really hard to get to these competitions and earn the medals, and I think that's what's motivating for me to keep striving to better myself.
And the lure of more national titles helps both men to set the benchmark even higher. I'm Johnny Appleby for the South Today.
And finally, a young chess player from Dunedin has been saying the words checkmate a lot recently, and he hopes to make a career out of it. And he's well on his way. The John McGlashan College pupil has won 2 awards at the chess competitions in the last month.
Knight to d4. But thankfully, this isn't wizard chess. Young champion Martin Brooke and his fellow chess enthusiasts enjoyed a game on the giant chessboard in the Octagon recently to celebrate their love of the game. The champion says he likes the strategy and tactics of chess simply because he's good at it.
And it's something competitive that rests on your mind, not your physical skills.
He started playing seriously 3 years ago, but was already enjoying the game before that. He won the Junior Master title in the Chess Power competition run by the sport's national body in early October.
This one was for getting top. I won 9 out of 9 games on a team's tournament. So yeah, so I won that as an individual.
He also helped his team win the intermediate division of the Chess Power Inter-Schools National Final,
where I'd got the top intermediate, because that tournament was all grades mixed together.
He says he would love to be a professional chess player one day, although admits it's a tricky goal. The chess players went up against each other for a friendly giant game of chess and reluctantly left to go back to school with their teacher. Siobhan Watson, The South Today.
And that's all for this edition of Southern Newsweek. You can see more of Southern News by following us on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, or via our website channel39.co.nz. I'm Holly Buchanan, thanks for watching.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.